In this module, we'll look historically at diversity and at immigration. We don't have time to go into much depth, but it's important to recall that our present-day debates over diversity and immigration derive from a long history that stretches back to the initial arrival of Europeans here, or even longer if we take Native American diversity into consideration. By the end of this module, you should be able to demonstrate the following learning outcomes. Describe and explain key historical and cultural processes that have contributed to cultural diversity in the United States, and describe the recent history of immigration and immigration policy about coming to the United States, and discuss present-day debates. I'd like you to view 4 clips here that touch on immigration issues past and present. The first clip is from the feature film Snow Falling on Cedars, based on the David Gutterson 1994 novel. This clip shows the relocation of the Japanese community from an island in Puget Sound to an internment camp during World War II. In the second clip, George Takei, who played Lieutenant Sulu on the original Star Trek, recalls his own internment as a young boy during World War II. The third clip is from Clint Eastwood's 2008 film Gran Torino. We now shift to my hometown Detroit and watch grumpy, racist, retired auto worker and veteran Walt Kowalski, played by Eastwood, reluctantly interact with his Laotian neighbors, who find him very odd. The fourth is a New York Times op-ed or op-doc that tells the story of Rufino Santis Diaz, who grew up in the United States but has returned to his birthplace in Chiapas state in Mexico, where he struggles to find his path between 2 countries. In the Canvas discussion that follows, I'll ask you to think about these clips to suggest to us what the immigration experience has been in the United States, a core theme in this course. There are just 2 presentations in this module. The first, a very brief history of diversity in the United States, provides some statistics, important dates, and major policies, especially regarding immigration and immigrants. The second, Immigration Policy since 1952, looks at shifts in U.S. immigration policy over the last 6 decades. The purpose of these 2 presentations is to provide some historical context and a very initial understanding of both continuity and change in policies and attitudes toward diversity and immigration. These presentations are followed by a quiz. There are 4 readings in this module, followed by study questions. The first is a short excerpt from Ronald Takaki's A Different Mirror, A History of Multicultural America. Takaki asks us to expand the way we've often portrayed U.S. culture to include the diverse groups that have been here over the course of our nation's history. The second is Randall McGuire's fascinating look at the material history of the U.S.-Mexico border at Ambos Nogales. Nogales is actually 2 cities, one in Arizona and the larger city in Sonora, Mexico. McGuire provides a historical overview and also seeks to understand how local residents have dealt with increasing border security since the 1990s. As an archaeologist, he looks at the border and its changing fences from a materialist perspective to provide insight into changing border culture. The third is Seth Holmes' introduction to his 2013 ethnography, Fresh Fruit, Broken Bodies, which depicts the plight of immigrant farm workers. In this introduction, Holmes relates his own border crossing with a group of men from Chiapas that he was studying, and his subsequent arrest and detainment. The fourth reading is from the Los Angeles Times and tells the story of a Mexican woman married to a white American in the United States. After having been summoned to leave in 2006, she spent 10 years in Tijuana, Mexico. Her husband raised their 3 children back in the U.S., and they visited Tijuana on weekends. After reading these readings, please answer the study questions in Canvas. The short documentary Columbus Day Legacy by Navajo filmmaker Benny Klain provides a sensitive and balanced look at the controversy surrounding the annual celebration of Columbus Day in Denver, Colorado. This film looks at the history of North America from two very different angles. That of Italian Americans, for whom Columbus Day was a special day that permitted them to celebrate their Italian cultural heritage, and Native Americans, who see the day as a commemoration of genocide. I should note that in 2015, Denver City Council joined other U.S. cities in changing Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. In that sense, the protests depicted in the film were successful, but we might ask ourselves what the Italian Americans think about that. This film brings together themes of diversity and multiculturalism in Module 2 and the history of diversity and immigration touched on in this module. After you view the film, I'll ask you to participate in a Canvas discussion with your colleagues. In Module 4, we'll turn to race and ethnicity, two core ways that U.S. Americans have experienced and continue to experience diversity.